Hello, everybody, and welcome again. It's the fourth masterclass of the first day of the Illustrator Survival Corner 2023 Bologna Children's Book Fair. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much to Julien Palier, and he will give a talk about generative AI and creators, revolution or evolution. We know that is one of the highlights and the hot topic of this book fair, so are you ready? Yeah. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, everyone. As you might have understood from my name, I'm French, so you'll have to cope with a bit of French accent today. I think that will change from the Italian massive people that we have here in the book fair. I'm really honored to be there, and thank you, Mi Master, to have me here. Yeah, before we really start, I wanted to have a better understanding of the audience. Can you raise your hand who is an illustrator? Wow, great. Yeah, we're in the survival corner. Do we have some editors here in the room? A few? Yeah? Well, don't raise your hand too much, because if not, you'll have all the illustrators coming at you. Anyway, yeah, so I'm French. I've been living in Barcelona for the last 15 years, and I'm neither an illustrator, neither a publisher or editor. In fact, my background is in journalism. I've been spending more than 20 years of my career into creative content from journalism, entertainment, fiction, non-fiction, and doing at the same time jump into technology. So I've been a startup founder, and in the last 2 years I've been toying a lot with AI. Actually, my job in Barcelona is a product manager for AI solution for big corporations. So I think that was what was interesting from Mi Master, is having someone with another look at the AI trends and to be able to share also my thoughts about it. No? And well, actually at home, my wife is an illustrator and has published books in many countries. So I know also what is around the industry for children books and what is at stake with AI. So a disclaimer too, I'm not a techie guy, so I won't get into really details about how machine learning, AI work. My objective with this today is to really give you some key points and thoughts in order for you to really understand what is coming, in order to be able to be in the conversation, no? But also with active presentation about how it works and what we get out of it. So yeah, let's start. I mean, the title is Generative AI and Creators. Is it a revolution or an evolution? This is what we're gonna see together, no? So let's start with an introduction. And actually some of the slides have been illustrated by AI. So you can see that this is the results that you can get from some of the tools that you can already find online, which is, I think, it's interesting for PowerPoint, and we'll see if it's really interesting for publishing books afterwards. What's really behind the intelligence? I think at the end, what I want to make clear is that, well, AI is not human. It's a simulation. Even if sometimes when you interact with AI, you have the feeling that it's a real human that you're talking to, it's at least give you the sense of it. Well, it's a simulation. It's zeros and ones. It's code that has been created by developers, by people that are really good at it, but it's not exactly a she or a he, which is something that sometimes in the conversation that we have to people say, ChatGPT told me that. Well, actually, ChatGPT build up an answer based on some models that had been created by someone else. But it's not actually a real intelligence as we might define it from the human perspective. Even it's really good at giving you a sense of it. Why these images? Because in the late 18th, there were already some kinds of simulation that tricked people. Not the mechanical Turk was actually an automate with whom you could play chess with. And actually Napoleon himself was really baffled away by this. Nobody knew until a few decades later that actually inside the box there was a human playing really chess. So the trick is here. You have a feeling of the humanity of it, but it's still something that is really machine driven. Anyway, even if it's technology, we have been really doing incredible progress. And one of the jump that has been made in terms of technology was really thinking about the way that a machine can think by trying to mimic the brain, to the point that we are now talking about neural networks. Neurons, artificial neurons that are connecting between themselves and that really like interact as the brain can do so. And this is through math, obviously, formulas that are trying to order the way the information flow between some bits of algorithm. So imagine layers of algorithms that interact between themselves, and with some jump into the computational capacity that we have today with the processes that have been created that give us the opportunity to really master a volume of data that is really long and really intense. So it's not biological, it's still code, but in a way that is really complex and that gives us the opportunity to get close to what is this simulation. And this is something that doesn't exist from today. I mean, neural networks has been created like in the 50s, but what has changed is that the internet gave the opportunity to have a massive flow of data to impute, and the computational power that we have with the microprocessor from today give us the ability to master and manage all this data all together. This is the jump that we are seeing right now. Still, let's get rid of the technicity of it and go back to more concrete example. This is a real example that has been worked in the last 2 days as a scientific work that has been done by Google with the library of in Japan that is storing and classifying all the old prints from Japan. And they had 2 challenges: understanding the text and understanding the pictures, the image in it. So picture books with handwritten. They had the possibility really fast to understand the text because you can scan, you can recognize the character, and you can translate that into data that is filtered and organized. On the other part, the challenge was, how can we do that with images? Well, what you do with images is that you start to build up clear data, internal data that show you, for example, all the faces that are in the images. And then a team assign some key concepts for all the figures, all the faces. And this face is female, this face is male, this face is a warrior, this face is a noble. And with this kind of organization, then the machine is able to learn and recognize behind the images what is what and who is who. And from that, you get data, statistics, and you can start to manage the information that is picture into something that is manageable in order to classify, in order to get more information on a picture in massive volume of books that you had in your library. So as you see, this is analysis driven. You use the AI in order to classify and to help you understand more things about it. But this is something that has already happened, and when you are logging into a website and you just click on image when you have a car, you have a chihuahua, and you have to pick up in your images what is a chihuahua and what is not a cookie with chocolate nuts, you're doing exactly the same thing. You're selecting and sorting out, filtering stuff, and you're helping the machine better understanding what is what. This is something that exists since long. It is now applied in a lot of activities. Now, into what's coming next and what we are seeing right now. We are going to analysis AI that help you understand data that already exists, to AI that helped you create ex nihilo new content, images, text. You probably have heard about ChatGPT. Maybe some of you have already tried and interact with ChatGPT. This is generative AI. This is an artificial intelligence that is able to propose you content, either on the form of text or either with images. What they did with this cow-core data set, which was all the sets of the pictures and the faces of people, was applying new data model and algorithm, not only to filter out content that already exists, but to replicate the faces. So train the machine to draw. And in order to do that, they designed some algorithm that were able to replicate these faces. So you cannot exactly see that because this is a PDF, so it's not animated. But if you go to the page, there is a scientific paper that has been published by Google about all this process, which I took as an example. And they give you an animated version of these images where you see the computer, the artificial intelligence, drawing the faces there. And it's amazing. In order to achieve that, they had to design the way that the computer draw. They had to help the computer learn how to draw, how to replicate the strokes or the way the color were applied. So you see, it's not something that is intuitive, that is something that It's created ex nihilo. There's a lot of building and development in the process. But let's focus on this generative AI, because for all of us here as illustrators, as creators, I think this is the next big thing. And this is the thing that is really impacting today. And this is also so visual, so intuitive to us, that this is why there is a lot of media talking about that right now. What is key for any generative AI is what we call the prompt. It's the description. It's the way you interact with the machine. You give you give it a description of what you want, and you get a result in the form of an image or in the form of text. So as much as when you search in Google, if you know how to search, if you know the keyword to use, you'll get better results. With generative AI, it's the same. The better the prompt, the closer the image that you will get to what you were expecting. And then you iterate on that. So prompt is key, whatever the image is. Let's do some concept. Here, I used Stable Diffusion, one of the tools that we have. What is the prompt? The little prince and his fox in the style of Fra Angelico. As you can see, from the models, from the data that was ingested in the learning of Stable Diffusions, there were some references to Fra Angelico. So the machine learning and the algorithm was able to understand the little fox, the little prince and his fox, and the style of Fra Angelico. But not only this one. Lucian Freud, Roy Lichtenstein, pop art, Arthur Rackham. So when you ingest enough data in the form of images, references, that the machine is able to learn from, the translation at the end can be close to a reality that we know, but adapted to the needs that we input. So it's not only about what we ask, it's about what the machine is able to learn and how to learn it. So there's always this limitation. Don't forget about that, because we think the machine by default is able to do whatever. No, it's based on the models. It's based on the capacity of the machine to learn, and this is code. This is not intuitive, which is really different from how we work. But still, a child might not know about Arthur Rackham until we help him discover what is the style and Arthur Rackham. Another example of tools that can be achieved and solutions that the machine can help us with. DALL-E is another generative AI. Basically, is from the same company that is doing ChatGPT, OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that is building machine learning and artificial intelligence and applying that to different kind of activities. DALL-E is to create image and more than that. Outpainting. What is outpainting? Let's get a famous picture. Everybody knows her. See that the frame is really small, limited. In fact, the painting itself is really small if you see it in real life. What you can do with DALL-E is expanding the picture, outpainting. From the real in the center to a complete new reality, and that goes out of the boundaries of the original painting, in the style of, but there were no specific descriptions of it out. This is an example. Another example that is already used a lot, it's increasing the resolution, the definition of the image, from one that has low definition to embedding more pixels, because obviously the AI is able to do that, no? So you can extend the quality of the image without losing any kind of details. Well, this kind of technology are already used a lot in different industries, military, for example, no? Satellite images, etc., etc. That will come to us in different aspects. When you use your iPhone and you want to select someone and get it out from the background, this is AI. This is the algorithm from Apple that helps you do simple stuff that we were not able to do like 2-3 years ago. Photoshop, Adobe is also doing this kind of deterring, smart deterring. It's AI. So AI is already everywhere. We just don't have a sense of it. Sometimes it's a small activity, sometimes it's a lot bigger. Obviously, these examples are here to help you get a sense of it. So how do you start? If some of you haven't yet tried it, here are some examples. ChatGPT, as I said. You just need an account, Google, Hotmail, whatever. You register, and you have access to it. It's as intuitive as WhatsApp. You can see below, you have this small window. This is where you input any kind of text in any languages. The AI can speak French, Italian, Japanese, whatever languages. It has been trained to know how to answer and understanding also natural languages. What does that mean? You don't have to speak little words or keywords like when you're searching into Google. We just speak it to it as if you were speaking to someone else. And the results is natural language too. It's something that is fully understandable. In fact, it's so powerful that Microsoft put $10 billion investment into OpenAI, and their search engine is now using this in order to jumpstart from a list of results to directly a summary that is giving you concrete answers about that. What is quantum computing? In Google, you will have a results of 10 pages and then 10 other pages, and you have to do yourself the summary. What is quantum computing? You ask ChatGPT, and you says, in 500 words, you'll get the answer in 500. It says, in 5 lines, you get the answer in 5 lines. Super powerful to jumpstart into results. Still, it has been trained on what exists on the internet. Not everything is true. And they're still making a lot of errors. So a disclaimer for the company says, we cannot guarantee that all the answers are the right answers. And one big challenge is this kind of filtering, making sure that what is ingested is good enough so that there's no mistakes in it. Actually, Google is launching a competitor, obviously, and when they did the demo, the answers were wrong. And they lost 5% in the stock exchange in the day after. ChatGPT, text-oriented. Stable diffusion. As I explained before, this is what I used for the example of the little prints that you've seen there. So simple prompt, powerful results already. It's super easy. You enter your prompt, it's 1 line, 2 line, and you get a result, and you also get like 3 alternative images for you to try and for you to iterate. I really recommend that because it's really the most intuitive. Challenge, there's a lot of people trying to use it, so from time to time it's not available because the servers are saturated. Mid-Journey, maybe the most powerful of all right now. Mid-Journey is a bit complex in terms of user interface because it's a chat as much as Slack, Teams, or other tools that you might know. You have different channels. In different channels, you can jump in and you can try. So basically what you do is you use a prompt, and from the prompt you get 4 proposals. And for these 4 proposals, you can iterate on them. You can either select one to get a high definition images, which is the final one, or you can fine tune your prompt and you can get it to like several iterations in order to really achieve exactly what you want. The example there, the 4 images that you see, is a simple prompt of asking Midjourney to produce 4 posters with the logo of the Bologna Book Fair in a Soviet style, in order to really maybe next year having something that is funny to create there. See that I think the results are quite interesting in terms of graphics, but you might not see from the image here because it's small, but Midjourney, for example, and all the AIs, they're really bad at text. So every text that is in the picture will not be taken into account. You'll have a blob of some stuff that looks like text, but is not actual text that you can read, okay? But still, this one, if you can manage to get into, also it's an account that you can create, it's free. You can have a lot of fun with that. It's really impressive. The prompt. Well, the funnest stuff with the prompt is that it's so important to start to understand prompts that you can see online courses that you can pay for that claim that they will help you master the prompt, so that you can have online training on how to write to AI. I think you can learn that by yourself, just by trials and errors. You don't really need to get into a prompt learning course, but just to give you an idea about how the trend is being and how people are trying to make money out of it in direct or indirect way. Still, I think this is one of the things that will be one competency that is really valuable in the future, is how you can interact with AI from the tools that you can get online. The other one is how you can build AI, but that's data science, and that's, I think, not our expertise. AI is not limited to text or images, but it's already across industries with thousands of tools, to the point that there is AI tools, search engine that are starting to appear online that will help you also discover also other opportunities. This PowerPoint was made by myself, but I would have been able to use also an AI to generate the first version of the PowerPoint. There are now AI that can help you build video tutorials based on text. And you have an avatar that is a virtual avatar. They can generate videos, etc. It's infinite. It goes from writing, images, design, business, development. GitHub, the most important online repository for code, is now using AI, it's called Copilot, to review the code and do commentary on the code. It's saving developers like 30% of their time. And also being able to identify errors that maybe humans couldn't really see in the code, in developments themselves. So it's massive. Let's get into challenges, because I think this is something that is really important, is not looking at what is it right now, but how can we make the most out of it and what is next. This is another image that Midjourney produced for me. But first, get into the big question, no? Are we being replaced? Let's do a real test. So a few months ago, when I was starting to play and toy with AI and Midjourney, well, let's see and compare, no, from what's real to what AI can do for us. And so what I used, and that was a kind of casus belli at home, is a concept that is from my wife, as a book that she has been written and that has been illustrated, and that's been kind of successful. But it's one of my favorites, obviously. But I really liked it. It's called The Golden Cage. So the author is Anna Castagnoli, and it has been illustrated by Carl Knut. That is one of the illustrators that I most cherish in terms of style and the way that he creates these worlds and illustrations. Actually, it's near there, so you can even check it. The Golden Cage in one of the booths in the Netherlands part. It's the story of a princess that is looking for the bird that can speak. And as she's not finding it, she sends her servants everywhere in the world to look for it. And they fail at finding this specific marvelous bird. So every time that the servant comes back with a bird that is not the speaking bird, it got its head chopped off. So it's kind of tough, strong story, you know, that has been illustrated in a kind of incredible creative way by Carl. So I put a prompt, more specific prompt, but not too complex, into Midjourney to see what would be the output. A young princess, lonely and surrounded by skulls in her castle, looking for the rare speaking parrot in the style of a children's book illustration. See? Kind of a description of what we were looking for, no? This is the first result that Midjourney gave me. So as you see, it's kind of relevant already, no? You have this sense of illustrations. You have this gloomy nature of sense of what is coming on. You see that there are some skulls, or maybe skulls. We don't know exactly. That can be okay. Let's iterate. Second version. Something like Días de Muertos. The Days of the Dead from Mexico, no? I don't know where that came from, but that's what the AI gave me, no? Third option. And I say, wow, it's kind of super relevant, no? You have a princess, she's sad and lonely, you have the parrot or something of a bird, and all the skills behind. I mean, we have more illustrators and publishers there, but I think this is something that can be valid for publishing. It's an image, it's one picture, doesn't make a book. But if you go back to Carl's work, well, and this is where it's my opinion, I think there's a world behind. There's a gap between what Carl has been able to translate into a picture to what the AI is still generating. And this is where I see the boundaries, no? AI is still able to produce a valid, valuable picture from what we were expecting, but we're missing maybe something that is more about the emotions and something that is beyond just zeros and ones, that is still something that we do master. And obviously that takes talent and a lot of years of experience to produce these kind of images. But this is the difference from maybe needing a picture for a PowerPoint to really needing people behind with all the expertise to produce a children's book and other kind of content that are really relevant to the expectations. One of the challenges that I see with AI is that we can ask for stuff, but the result that we get is not exactly always what we would expect or needs. And this is what is the difference between interacting with a tool, digital tool, to interacting with a human, an artist, a creative behind. And this is something that will be hard to shift and to compensate. So yeah, still. And this is with 1, 2, 3, 4 iterations. I didn't get into 50, but you can go as far as you want there. Limits, as we said. So the human touch, no? The human dimensions of the creativity. Other technical limitation, and before I go into this slide, let's just do a side story of the content itself. Because Anna then, when she saw these images, says, okay, I want to ask ChatGPT about the story to see how he would write a story about the one that I've written. And so she asked ChatGPT, write me a story about a princess that were chopping heads because she was not happy. And the answer was, you cannot tell that to children. So you see also the limitation there are not by the tool himself, but that the rules that are defined by the people behind the tool. And this is another strong limitation, is that whatever the tool, there are some people behind. We can say the same thing about journalism. Behind a newspaper, you have people, you have deontology, you have some rules that are made there to respect themselves, but sometimes also the creativity is going beyond this. This will not happen with AI because there will be always rules set by. So how far are we going into this? I think the questions are open, but it's important to have them in mind. Other limitations, faces and fingers. You'll see that everywhere. AI so far has difficulties to create some people with 5 fingers. You have 6, you have 4, which is a bit disturbing. So either you are in sci-fi and you want that, but if you want to be realistic, that's challenging. Other stuff that are more in terms of maybe Magritte stuff is that this illustrator tried to ask the AI to create like a rabbit driving a carrot. and the machine were not able to understand that. So sometimes this kind of leap of creativity that is a bit surrealistic, that is out of what is coherent for what the machine has learned or ingested, make it really difficult. So this is where we are. This is where still the human brain has a lot of leverage in terms of thinking in ways that obviously an algorithm has not been trained or instructed to do so, no? So we don't think about that this is really key, because if not, we have this feeling that AI is everything. It's not yet there. We have intelligence, we don't have super intelligence, which might be the next 10 years to come. Still, there are some margin. Yeah, still. This is AI. So this is Valentina, this is the princess, created by AI, but not picture AI, photographic AI. It's another model. It's another set of language learning that has been done there, and you have this incredible realistic photography from the beginning of the century. And this is a model that has been especially developed and trained for producing these kind of images. So the more specific the AI engine, the better the result that you can have. And this is something that we have to take into account. So the output depends on what you put at the beginning, not the other way around. And I love this picture. So back to the question, will AI replace illustrators? Well, I do not really think so, but still. Le Figaro, it's a French newspaper, and that's an article from last week. I'll translate you the title. On Amazon, the worrying business of books written by ChatGPT. So basically right now we are coming into an era where massive content can be produced at nearly no cost You can produce a story, you can produce some images, you put them together, and you put that on Amazon. Who cares? It's volume, you might have some granular sales, you still have a potential business there. So quantity or quality? Quantity has always been there as a long tail process. It will increase because the means to produce that are easier and accessible to everyone. So emphasis on quality, I mean, this is the fair where we can think about that, and I think the work that publishers and illustrators should focus on, but there will be some competition, obviously. Small story aside, Apple, 1 month ago, published 100,000 books. Not new books, audiobooks. What they did is on their books, digital books platform, they implemented AI as a mean to convert every book that they had in an audiobook. And they did that with AI. They had them all trained to do the voiceover, not to do the reading. Actually, 100,000 books, if you put some people to do that, you have 10 years to record everything. So with AI, you can do that with a few clicks. What happened is that the people that were the one that sold their voice to train the model, they didn't agree on this specific part in their contract so that their voice were used to train an AI model to replace them. So what they did is a class action in the US saying, hey, we haven't signed and given a right to exploit our voice so that it could be used for that. And so Apple had to cancel and suppress all the audiobooks that they had published until the conflict is settled in court. And obviously for this, voice actors, it's key for them to have this right recognized, because if not, their work is completely disappearing. This is a good example of how AI can impact us in some way. Keeping talking about copyright, what also people have discovered is that the company that I've talked about, the Stable Diffusion, OpenAI, etc., they use millions of data that usually are taken from the internet, be it from data sets, set of data that has already been structured for them, either going live and rogue through Wikipedia, Google search, other database, in order to really feed their model of AI with content. Some illustrators realized that their images were used to train AI without their consent. And we're entering into this gray area of what is possible or not, because when you're publishing your images on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest, what you're doing is that you're giving these companies rights of exploitation of your content, not for a commercial use. They will not make money directly, sell them directly, but they can use it for data processing and other means, being directly or indirectly. So they can do that. But still, what happens next is the generation of images that might have really a strong similarity to images that comes from you. So where is the boundaries? Are you the owner of any images that goes into your style or not? Can we say that everything that is similar to what Arthur Rackham does should be the property of Arthur Rackham? Or should we have some margin for similarity? It's not something directly connected, but it's copyright, style, ownership that is, again, being discussed and debated. In fact, in the OpenAI dataset, you have already some images from Maurice Sendak. And I'm not sure the owners of the right of Maurice Sendak will be really happy to see that, because at the end results are not really fantastic based on, but it's really inspired by. So images from Maurice Sendak has been processed as part of a dataset in order to be able to produce some images that are with a certain resemblance too. So yeah, you have another example there. This, and you have the link on the slope, but we'll share the PowerPoint afterwards, is an engine that is reverse engineering the AI model in order to discover what are the images that has been used. So you can search for specific authors and see if they have been ingested into the machine. So yeah, as a conclusion, and maybe we'll have time for a few questions afterwards. Once again, we have a tech revolution that is pushing the boundaries of how we create, distribute, sell, and consume art, or all our creative content. As I said, it's not something new, but every new wave of technology innovation is forcing us to rethink how we work, how we share, and how we make this model, economic model and creative model, work between us. It happens before with the iPhone and with this distribution of apps and the digitalization of content. It happens with the distributions of books through Amazons. It's happening to the taxi industry with Uber. So every shift, every wave of tech innovation is forcing us to rethink that. And technology is always ahead of time in front of legislation and the economic model behind. What is still there is that, for example, the European Union is working on an AI Act to really, again, put some boundaries there, legal boundaries to respect the ownership, copyright, etc., etc. But still, you have other countries that are fast-forwarding 10 years from now and are getting a lot more competitive advantage in their technologies. So there's always challenges there that are beyond us in terms of geopolitics, etc. So it goes beyond just the illustration itself, but still, it's there. So what I would like you to get from this session is that AI is not there to replace us, but it can be a great opportunity to not rethink, but maybe leverage AI to improve or extend the way we work as creators, from illustrators to writers to publishers. So instead of thinking about artificial intelligence, what I would like to think about is augmented intelligence. It's something that will support us and making us smarter, stronger into creation. And on the other side, for illustrators, augmented creativity. You have already AI in your tools, digital tools, but you can also tap into the generative AI to maybe help you think beyond what is your style, what is your creative reality, and interact with knowledgeable database that is easier to interact with to really get your creative process enriched by that. Instead of just being passive by it, because it's there. So it's better to jump on the bandwagon than just being extremely resistive to it, because anyway, the adoption will be massive. And this is definitely something that I'm convinced of. So there is a lot of other talks that are coming in the days that are to come in the fair. So I invite you to also hear other opinions, because I know that usually when you have like your own expertise, it's difficult to see beyond it. But sometimes getting more out of the knowledge will help you really get into it in a stronger way and a more efficient way. So that was my conclusion. This image is a real picture that has not been AI transferred. Maybe 10 years from now I will think about it. You have my contact there if you want to get to reach out for additional questions. But I think we have a few minutes left, so I would love to take your questions if there are some comments, maybe some other experts in the room. So yeah, please.
One thing I'm asking myself these days as we read news about this is whether this is something that can change our culture in a way that we will grow fond of images that we maybe would have not considered important before. So I wonder if the fact that we have these beautiful images that we can now generate will maybe make us change our taste, or, I don't know, just revisit the way we look at images and maybe create another kind of collateral damage through that. Not just because, you know, people are stealing images, that's wrong and we know that, but there's another side, I think, to the challenge, which is cultural, and I'm curious to know your thoughts about it.
Thank you, because this is a topic that I didn't address, and I think it's really good. How does AI maybe help us really rethink the way that we perceive, and interact with images? If you think about it, this happened before with also different innovation. Photography changed the way that maybe we were thinking and interacting with painting. The cinema afterwards also did this kind of impact in terms of that the velocity or the movement. What I see is that the models that we have in terms of the output, the images that are generated right now, is really poor from what is the way that we can create images. So the challenge is how can the creative industry be more involved in the models, in the creation of the algorithms that are outputting images so that they reflect the richness of the imagination that can come out of illustrators. Because if not, we will fall down again into what I think is the Instagram fallacy, which is a standardization of the image creation. So as you said, no, and I think this is a battle that is on the creative side, and you can have it also on a lot of different dimensions, like text and conclusions that are generated with AI. So if we are passive in front of that and not have the ability to have a constructive look at it, we will take for granted what is the output, and it's a limited output because it has been created by a few people. So yeah, this is a challenge, but it's the whole loop, because if you're a creator, you might be at the end of how can you get involved into the technology that is building that beforehand. And so we have to fight back in some way. There is a challenge here in terms of regaining a bit control in order to have this kind of richness in it, definitely. Yes. Any other question? Yes, please. I'll pass you the microphone.
Hello. My question is about traditional art. How could this help or affect traditional artists, or how this looks for traditional illustrators in front of, yeah, of this that is digital, right? So yeah, that's my question.
So what's the impact for traditional art, no? And what is the relationship? I think that something that I touch a bit in the presentation is the challenge of replicating art into digital processing. As you see, you can have an injection of data in order to help the machine learn about a specific type of art, but it struggles still into producing that. So until there are some specific models that are created in order to really be able to replicate, you might not have a solution that will give you the output in terms of the style that is needed at the end. So I don't think it could replace anything until there is a massive amount of efforts that is built up to be able to compensate, recreate, etc. So I think traditional art will still have like a place, and if you think about the evolution of the technologies in the history, it's not a new proposal in terms of being creative and create art as replace the one before. Sometimes it pushed a bit, or it helped innovate into what was there before, but it's complementary. I don't see it as an exclusive way of doing things. So yeah, it's a message of hope, no? It's not something that will destroy. It might be something that helps really like reinvent or extend the possibilities, hopefully. Yeah. Yes?
From what I'm seeing now, like the examples that you showed us, it feels like the AI is like, it can be like an assistant for us, but do you think in the future, the illustrators will be the assistant of the AI, and like the AI will make images, and the illustrators will be hired to edit it to be like more, you know, real, like for example, fixing the faces and the hands?
A really good point, thinking forward. You have that a bit in the industry right now, for example, in content, when you have translation. I mean, translation right now is something that is nearly automatic. You go from one language to the other. And what companies are trying to do is, yeah, the machine is doing 80% of the job, and at the end you end up being a corrector. It's not working that much, because then the time that you spend correcting is sometimes as long as doing the whole job itself. So it depends. But I think if you think about it as an assistant in the future, it might assist you, because you might have trained your own model in doing a work that is close to you as an artist, that is really within your own identity. And so it will help you produce faster, and extend your ability to produce, and then you'll fine tune. But not because it comes from someone else, no? So, and this is something that I'm really looking forward to see how it evolves, no? But I foresee that even publishers can have their own model of AI that will be reflecting their editorial style, their picture style, and blend that with some AI that is one that you own, that is your personal assistant, into creating more. So it will be like a blended experience in order to generate more art. And ideally, we should go to this, because the limitation is in the learning phase, in the training phase, and in the way that we ingest data into it. So until this is not solved, the machine will be really limited to what we put in it. And as you see, you can get some nice results, but they are limited to the one that we have. If you put the work of Kaltnut, if I didn't put the little prints with Kaltnut, because the machine has not been trained to draw as Kaltnut. So you can do that, because it's not there. So you're not at risk. Perfect, so I think we're done for today, and we're just 5 minutes ahead. So thank you very much for your attention. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon. Bye-bye.